So I'm here with Michael McCormack from Milieu. Great to see you, mate.
Good to see you too.
So for those in the property development industry, everyone knows Milieu from amazing architecturally designed projects, really a design-led approach, particularly in the north. Tell us a bit about the story of how you guys came about and how you kind of got so well known for that focus.
Yeah, sure. So we started in 2010. At the time, a bunch of us were working for a developer that was focused on larger scale projects. Well, they'd kind of originally been focused on smaller projects and then kind of built up to be focusing on larger projects. At the time at that market was mainly kind of investor focused. So people were selling overseas, and the projects that we were working on were basically larger scale investor grade projects. And we were also looking for our own home at the time. And what we found is that the projects that were available to us, what we realized is that they weren't kind of the places we want to live.
Yeah.
So we had a choice between type of work that we were doing that we realized wasn't a great place to live through our own experiences or moving further out. So there just seemed to be a gap in the market, which was developing that kind of attainable townhouse or apartment in a location that we wanted to live. So our first project was Moore Street, just in Fitzroy, where we bought a block of land at auction on the weekend and developed 5 townhouses and sold it all to owner-occupiers. And many of them, actually, I think 4 of the 5 still live there today.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah. And we did that successfully over a number of different projects, and eventually kind of 5 townhouses grew to 15 townhouses, grew to 30 apartments and so on.
It would have been quite novelty at that time because, as you say, a lot of that wave at that era was really driven by the Asian market, which was focused on channels where it was about the price point and the address. And the bit closer to the CBD, the better. But I think the reality for most consumers, particularly people that own occupying, is that they want more than that. They want to be able to unlock the lifestyle that a place like Fitzroy or Collingwood can kind of provide.
Yeah, and I remember at the time, and it only became sort of really kind of obvious to us when we were going through that journey ourselves. But I remember at the time we were working on kind of 60, 65 square metre, 70 square metre 2-bedroom apartments, which were really designed for a yield.
Yeah.
But just not necessarily the best places to live. And I think the market's now got much more mature and moved towards doing what we were doing back then, which has been great. It's been market-led, purchaser-led.
And so in terms of how you think about architecture and design, you know, when you kind of acquire a site, how does that process look from your perspective?
So Milieu, if I was French, I think I'd be Milieu. But it means environment or context in which one lives and is influenced by. So that's kind of at the core of whenever we're looking for a project, it's response to place. That's how we kind of start. So we think about really the local area and how we can kind of contribute to and improve that with our project. And then when we're thinking about site purchases specifically, we're really, really picky. We choose spaces or sites that are close to amenity, close to public transport, close to open space. All of that is obvious, but then the site specifics needs to have or lend itself to developing a building that's got great natural light, great aspect, good view lines and things like that.
And so in terms of an architecture space, a lot of the big name architects sometimes get used for their name, and then a lot of the flair that they have from a design standpoint ends up getting value managed through the project, value managed out of the project. Obviously, you guys have been very well known for doing amazing amenity, really great design and materials. How do you think about the collaboration process with the architecture firms that you work with, and who are some of the groups that you often partner?
Yeah, we almost do the opposite in a way. We have, as part of, I guess, the thinking behind our projects, we've tried to work with emerging practices, and Plant Street is a great example of that. But practices that have, I guess, historically had a focus in single dwelling residential and are really across the detail of living. So we did that well on Napier Street with Friedman White, and on Napier Street again with Addition Office, and here with Ritz and Gagasian. But it presents its own challenges because these architects are amazing and have just great, inspiring, fresh ideas, but not the background in multi-residential and all of the technical components and things that go into delivering a multi-residential building. But I guess that's where we, as a developer, and our experience can provide support to them, kind of deliver their vision.
The one thing that often surprises a lot of people is that despite doing very large projects, often hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, developers have quite small internal teams quite often. But one of the keys is partnership. Who are the types of partners that you guys often work with?
Yeah, partnering is really kind of at the core of our philosophy. We've partnered typically across all of our projects with capital partners, but also project partners. Last year, we completed a project with Metro.
James Hutton, one of the best in the business.
A great friend of mine. And this new project, Plant Street, is in partnership with Penfold. And we just find that, and particularly with that project that we did with James and Jeff and Locke at Metro, it leads to better outcomes because only the best ideas kind of get up. So they're really synthesized and discussed and kind of pushed and pulled. And what that means is the project that you delivered is just a better outcome. It's kind of two heads is better than one, so to speak. And it allows us to kind of focus on our strengths together as well. So in Plant Street, we're delivering it in partnership with Penfold Group.
Yeah, that's very cool. And so we spoke before about the inner north kind of being a key place where you guys have really thrived over the past kind of 10 years or so. And it's currently end of February 2024. You've got a project coming up in Elsternwick, which is not the inner north. It's slightly different, but talk to us about why Elsternwick and how do you feel about the place and kind of making sure that the project fits in with that area?
Yeah, sure. So, I mentioned before we were established in 2010. We've completed 26 projects, I think. Most of them have been in the inner north, and that has been historically because we've lived and hung out in this area. So we've just kind of more opportunities have presented themselves. But a couple of years ago, we decided that we really want to grow as a business, and there's only so many opportunities, so many development sites in the inner north that you can develop. So we thought, well, okay, we can grow in scale, but then potentially you're moving away from that market that you've been developing in for so long, which is that owner-occupier market.
Yeah.
Or you can grow in geographical location. So we literally got a map out and said, of Melbourne, what areas do we think kind of resonate with our work and resonate with our buyer profile? And Elsternwick was kind of one of them because it felt very much in keeping with our buyer profile.
So whereabouts do you think the buyers will be coming from for the Elsternwick project? Do you see that is potentially an inner north buyer looking to move over the other side, or is it the local buyer that you're kind of focused on?
I think it'll be a bit of both. Like I think there's a lot of people who have grown up Bayside and maybe gone to school in Bayside and their family lives in Bayside, and then they've moved to the inner north after uni and kind of sort of to capture the culture of the inner north. And now, though, that buyer profile's potentially grown up a little bit and they may have a young family and they want to move close back to home. There's great schools over there, access to the Bayside and close to mum and dad for support. So
That's a great insight, actually. I think there will be spot on.
Yeah. So I think there'll be that buyer profile. Then I think there'll be older downsizers. So their kids have left home. They've got a large family home in the Bayside area and they no longer don't need that amount of accommodation. So they're selling that and moving into something a bit smaller, but want to stay close to kind of their supermarket they like going to, their doctor that's close by and their friendship group that's around.
And one of the things we often talk about almost in every video at this point is experience does count for a lot. And I think not only have you delivered a lot of projects, but when I've got a certain kind of style and aesthetic and a certain kind of customer profile, I think that kind of thing really matters.
I think we put a lot of effort into establishing a brand and leveraging off a brand each project and growing our brand. But now it's very difficult to pick what is a developer that has such experience like we do, delivering so many projects, compared to maybe a developer that's less experienced. And we feel that the best way to do that is to have a look at all their work completed, or our work completed in our case.
I agree.
And I think that's because the renders these days are so amazing and anyone can produce really fantastic renders, or there's a bunch of people that can. But I think the distinguishing feature between potentially ourselves and some of our peers, that volume of work that we've delivered.
Yeah, I think we really believe in what you guys are doing. We think more developers like Milieu being successful, and I'm pleased you're going for the more scalable option because we certainly know we've got a massive supply shortage. So awesome job and congratulations on all the success so far, Michael, and all the best for the future.
Thanks, mate.